The Israeli government is about to apparently pass a line of new legislations regarding conversion, marriage, burial, as well as other issues, which may break down the domination of the rabbinical courts in Israel. Here to discuss more on this issue is Rabbi Seth Farber, who is doing incredible work of creating dialogue and communicating during these historical times that we're in.
There's no question we're in historical times, and thanks for having me on the show.
Of course, it's always a pleasure to see you again. First, let's start. Explain what is going on in the Knesset. We know that things don't get voted through right away, but the fact it's there is a huge success.
Right.
In its own right.
Today, there's a new opportunity in Israel, and it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. For the first time, there's dialogue, and I wouldn't quite say it as breaking down the rabbinical court system. I think there's a new opportunity to work with the rabbinical court system, work with the chief rabbinate, but also open up areas of Jewish life that for all too long have been very, very limited. They've been very, very focused, not recognizing the diversity of the Jewish people. I'm an Orthodox rabbi and a member of the chief rabbinate, actually, and I feel very strongly that there's a way to, on one hand, expand the way that Israel's Jewish life and established Jewish life in Israel works, taking into account the incoming of the exiles, taking into account the dramatic and remarkable times that we're living in, and at the same time maintain the integrity of Jewish law, of traditional Jewish law called halakha. That's something as an Orthodox rabbi I work on a lot. What's going on today is actually quite remarkable. During these days, there's new legislation in the Knesset that relates to the issue of conversion to Judaism. As you know, and many of your people watching know, there are hundreds of thousands of people who emigrated to Israel under the law of return. They saw themselves as Jews. They're part of the family of the Jewish people. But from a Jewish legal perspective, they aren't halachically Jewish. Jewish tradition basically determines that someone's Jewish based on their maternal line. And these people, primarily from the former Soviet Union, are part of a remarkable moment in Jewish history where the state of Israel brought 1 million Jews from the former Soviet Union here to Israel over the last 30, 35 years. Many of them, hundreds of thousands of them, are not halachically Jewish. They were cut off from the Jewish people, and now they want to return. They want to be part of this great moment. From a legal perspective, that means today they can't get married in Israel. We want to change that. My organization, ITIM, has played an important role, first of all, in trying to make these people who came on Aliyah, who came to Israel, who emigrated here, feel part of the fabric of the Jewish people. We've begun a program that enables them, if they want, we're not missionaries, but if they want to convert back to Orthodox Judaism, we have a path they can do that.
And that's just, that's just the beginning of dealing with people that are already here. Now we're, we said in the beginning, we've done a lot about the story of the B'nai Onisim and the Conversos and the, Isaiah and other prophecies of the Ingathering of the Exiles. I mean, I don't think anybody can question, we're starting to see it. We're seeing people getting DNA, finding these things out, wanting to explore, wanting to learn. And then you get, those that are on the extreme side that really want to come back and return to Judaism. But there's blockages.
Right. So we at ITIM spent a lot of time, particularly working with Orthodox communities around the world, people who are committed to traditional Jewish law, to enable those local communities to be able to bring people back if they want to come back, and people who want to join, come join, and then be able to make Aliyah. It's a challenge in this country. It's not easy with immigration policy on one hand and traditional Judaism on the other. It's an issue that we're still working out. I think the first area of business, if you will, that really has to be taken seriously are the people who come here. We as the state of Israel did a remarkable job at encouraging people to come primarily from the former Soviet Union, but not only, from behind the Iron Curtain, but not only. We brought them to Israel. We've invited them to be full members of society. They serve in the army. They pay taxes. Most importantly, they contribute to the economy in Israel. They're full members of society. But when it comes to the issue of marriage, until now, things have been very, very limited for them. And instead of saying, oh, go overseas to get married, or you're not really part of society, or you're not wanted here, which is all too often what these people, my brothers and sisters, this is what they hear. Instead of saying that, we really need to start thinking in terms of biblical prophecies and certainly rabbinic tradition that says at this moment in Jewish history, we have an opportunity to reclaim heritage. We have an opportunity to bring people who are already here back. Right. People overseas, the door is open. We want to provide ways in which they can come back. And this, of course, doesn't just relate to the issue of conversion. It relates to the way people get married here in Israel and the way people get buried here in Israel. And again, these are things that are still on the agenda. There's still a step or two away. At ITIM, we're working very, very hard to make Jewish life accessible to all those who want to.
And such noble
grab onto
efforts,
it.
because I'm sure it's not easy when you have all of these decades of, I myself, in remarrying my own husband, going to the Rabbanut, having problems, and I'm Jewish, and I even had to go through it.
Right. There's a lot of entrenchment. There's a lot of sense of the status quo is sanctified, and there's no room for understanding the diversity of the Jewish people.
Right. Of course.
What's remarkable
and the most important thing is, like, you're looking at this, and it's like, if things are going to be so difficult, people aren't going to get married anymore. Like, that's another thing. That's not good in the long run either.
Absolutely. In the last 5 years, the number of people choosing to get married in a Jewish ceremony in Israel has gone down. At ITIM, we're working very hard to try to bring those numbers back up. We want people to feel that they have a place within Jewish life. The Jewish life is theirs. It doesn't belong to some government office. And at ITIM, that's what we spend a lot of time doing. Thousands of people turn to ITIM each year to help them convert or navigate the Rabbanut when it comes to marriage, or sometimes even when it comes to burial and divorce. Those are areas, the Jewish life cycle, and particularly the interface between the average Jew and the religious establishment, is exactly the space that ITIM is involved in.
Right.
What I want to say is that this is all part of something that I wouldn't have expected us to get perfect right at the beginning. I often say Israel's not 73 years old. We're 73 years young, and we have a lot to learn still. We have a lot to learn about the diversity of the Jewish people, but we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to engage people in their heritage, to bring them back to feeling good about being Jewish, to allow people to get married, to allow people to be buried. Now, they shouldn't have to choose. If they want to live Jewish lives, they shouldn't have to choose to go overseas to get married. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. And we can do it here in Israel, and ITIM is doing it, and we're doing it well, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it more.
Thank you so much for this very, very deep and profound conversation and breakdown of the situation.
Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to coming back.
I look forward to having you again. Thank you so much.